Okay, so I'm going to continue on with Lab 7 and show you how to create a button. But first we need to add a scene. So go into the Scenes folder, right click, and then just say Create Scene. And then what you basically say is call it Scene 2. So now, when I click on Scene 2, you'll see that it's completely blank. Scene 1 has that in it. But I want to go to Scene 2, and I want to, so it's the active scene. I want to put that same image onto that scene, and just continue this storyline by putting that on there. And then I'm going to have Snoopy flying across on the top, but notice that I have this image that I imported that doesn't have the background removed. So I want to show you how to do that. If we show it in Explorer, so it's in a folder on my desktop called Lab7 Files, and I could either edit it there, or I could show it in the current project file folder and edit that directly in place with GIMP. So when I go into GIMP, you can see it brings in the image that we saw, and just as a review, we want to do the layer transparency, add alpha channel, and then go into tools, selection tools, fuzzy select, and then when we select the entire area outside the white and then press delete, we should have a good image with the background removed. And then we want to do a file export as, and then give it a name. Instead of JPEG, you want to put PNG. And then once that's exported, we can go back into Unity and see that we have a version of that file that has the background removed. So I want to make that an animation, so I'm going to reduce the size of it a bit, and then have Snoopy flying into the scene as if he went from standing next to his doghouse to doing a acrobatic thing there. So I should name these more descriptively, the image, but you can do that as you go along. So to create an animation, we just go to the animation tab. So I like to have the animation tab available right there along with the project, and so then we create an animation. So this is a review, and I'm just going to say Snoopy flying, and then what we'll do is decide that he's going to go across over 4 seconds, let's say, and then we'll just hit record, go out to 4 seconds, and then move him to the position that you want him to stop at, and then perhaps we want him to turn around and fly back. So maybe we could now flip him, okay, and then go out to 8 seconds, and then move him to the other side of the screen, so that it looks like he's flying back and forth. Then stop recording. So then when we're playing this, hopefully we'll see the initial flyover, and then he goes off screen, and then he flies back, and then since it's on loop, he's going to keep doing that. And in this case, we want to keep it on loop. So we just have kind of a storyline going where Snoopy has some kind of different activity in the next scene. But now, we want to go back to the previous scene. So in order to do that, go to Project, and then go to Scenes, and double click on Scene 1. And notice that you get the dialog box that says, do you want to save the changes? Hit Save. Okay, you could have saved it beforehand, but it reminds you that you needed to save it. So the next thing we want to do, go back to the Assets folder, is get some sort of a Next and Previous button. So I have one here, but let's just do next button.png, just to keep it simple and try to get one that will show us, an arrow pointing to the right. So, try to get a ping. So let's try that one, and then I'm going to save the image as, and I'm going to save it to my Lab7 files. So I'm going to say arrow right, and then, we'll import it into the scene. And remember, I have that on my desktop, so I have to go to my Lab7 files and my arrow right. Okay, so just to ensure that it's got a transparent background, just kind of hover it over the scene. Okay, and then hit escape to cancel that, because we want that to be the button, the skin on the button, not just an image. So what we want to do next is we want to create a button. So you got to do the UI button, and notice that creates a canvas for you right away. So we want this to be button next, but also set the canvas up like we've been doing in previous labs. So you have to say render mode screen space camera, drag the main camera to where it says render camera, and then go to where it says UI scale mode, change it from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. So now we have the button kind of in the vicinity of where we want to put it. So let's put it maybe on the bottom as a next button. And also remember that the canvas has to have an order and layer, and anything on it conforms to that order and layer. So I'm going to make that 10. So now that's a button called button next. And notice that it has a text item on it. Now you can keep that text on there, but you can also take it off if the button's obvious in that it makes you go right or to the next scene. So, you could just press delete on the text so that you don't have to worry about putting text on it. And now, see, the source image here for the button is empty. It just says UI sprite. So I want to drag the image that we got earlier to that, and then now you see it's in the scene. And it doesn't have text on it, but it should be pretty obvious that when somebody sees this, they click on that and it will go to the next scene. So when I run this, you'll see it just, it is a button, because when you click it, it blinks, okay? But what you want to do next is create a what's called a scene controller object. So you create a empty object. So you say UI, I'm sorry, not UI, but create empty game object, and then just call it scene controller. Okay, so you have to do this for each scene. And then, so scene controller is just an object. It's empty for now, but we're going to add a script to it. So in order to add a script, we have to right click here, import new asset. I'm sorry, not import, but create C# script. And then we're going to call it capital S scene, capital C controller, capital S script. Okay, so it's kind of the same name as the scene controller object, but with the word script. They are two different things, though. And then, when we double click on that, we should get into Visual Studio, and then you'll have a starting script, with just the basics. But what we want to do is go into the website for our course and just grab that. It's under assignments, and I'll use this updated scene controller script 2, and then just copy this. Now notice that it's called scene controller script 2, which I guess we could deal with that one later. Let's just go to sample scripts and get scene controller script just as is, okay? Because we're not going to use the go-to scene. We're just going to use these two methods or functions that are in here. So I'm going to copy that, and then I go into Visual Studio, and notice that the name of that is scene controller script.cs. That's the name of the file. I want to paste that and make sure that the name of the class inside of the file is the same as the file name in the exact spelling and the exact case. So it's in camel case, scene controller script, no spaces. And then you could try building the solution. If it says succeeded, no issues found, you could also then just save it. You can say save all. But as long as you've done either the build and or the save, you'll see that the screen, the script has the new contents once you get back into the editor. So now we have the scene controller in the editor, the script, and then we go to the scene controller object, and all we got to do is drag this either to the scene controller object in the hierarchy or over to where it shows in the inspector, and then we have the ability to activate that button by incorporating that scene controller object into the button. So now that we've put the script onto the controller object, we now have to set the button up. So you go back to the button, we call the button next, and at the very bottom there's a on click event in which you have to hit the plus sign, and it adds a event and it says none object. So you want to take that scene controller that we put the script onto, so the scene controller object is a container for the script, and put it over here, just drag it, and then right now it's there, but we're not telling it which function to run, so you got to go to where it says no function and change that to go to scene. I'm sorry, not go to scene, but next press. We'll use go to scene later. But anyway, this now when I run this, so it's going to go next pressed. When I run this, you'll see the button is available, and when we click it, it does go to the next scene. Okay, now that's a common error that I just encountered, and it's good that we encountered that, because the reason it didn't go to the next scene is because we have to go into the build settings, and you see how it just has the scenes in build scene 1. You have to add scene 2 to it, so you could basically go into the scenes folder and then just drag scene 2. So now notice that now scene 1 is 0 and scene 2 is 1. So now when we run it, we should get the ability to navigate to the next scene. So the next scene has Snoopy just kind of flying around, but we'll in the next video we'll try to create some kind of an animation to have the storyline play out in terms of the football and Charlie running and such. So stay tuned for the next video.